The Chinese Arts Centre in the heart of the city was the focus for meeting the Chinese community and launching this important document. After the first greeting, the Foreign Secretary was taken to meet members of the community with the traditional hospitality of China tea and dim sum. These are long-standing members of the Chinese community who've come to Britain and set up businesses, or have arrived as students and decided to stay, some of them as lecturers. The Minister explained the thinking behind the framework document in the main lecture room.
One reason we published this document is to make sure that 2009 is an even more positive year for relations between the UK and China. It's a very important year for China, the 60th anniversary of its foundation following the revolution. A very historic year. But it's also a year in which Britain and China are challenged to work together. Challenged to work together on economic issues. Challenged to work together in foreign policy. We are both members of the UN Security Council, and there are some very big and difficult issues that we need to address. Challenged to work together on climate change issues, where Europe and China are going to be big players in the negotiations that hopefully will conclude in Copenhagen at the end of the year. And a big reason to work together as well, to foster better understanding of how each of our countries are developing.
The document was not just about bilateral relations, but also about developing relations with Europe, the biggest trading bloc in the world, at a time of change.
Fundamentally, political and economic power is shifting from west to east in the world. And if we are going to tackle some of the global problems that present themselves, whether nuclear proliferation or climate change or terrorism, never mind global inequality, we're going to have to find a way for countries like China to play a full part in addressing those challenges. I think what's very significant is that everything I've learned from my discussions, quite intense discussions over the last 18 months with the Chinese government, is that they do want to play that role. They want to play that role very conscious of their own unique history, very proud of their own values and society, very conscious of the incredibly rapid change that has taken place in China and is still taking place, but also committed to cooperation around the world.
Human rights was another area, and even at a time of economic recession, the problems of climate change had to be addressed.
My understanding is that the Chinese government wants to develop the Chinese economy without repeating the mistakes that we made in founding our economy on high carbon sources of energy, heat and transport.
In an interview, the Foreign Secretary stressed the importance of China at a time of global economic crisis.
The economic crisis is only going to be tackled effectively if all the major economies of the world come together. China is a vital part of the answer to the economic crisis that we face, and the framework that we've set out today is precisely designed to ensure that across economics, politics and culture, Britain and China don't just understand each other but work together.
What can we give to China that they want from us?
I think that we can give China all the benefits of our own history and modern-day Britain, its economy, its politics, its education system. 80,000 Chinese students are here. And I think we can also give China a clear understanding of the way the European Union is changing. And I think that this document is about a bilateral relationship, but also about an EU-China relationship.
With the massive market that they are, they must be very, very important to our exports and also very important to our financial sector.
Well, China is vital to the whole global economy. And I think the fact that Premier Wen is here next week, that a very high-level Chinese delegation will be coming to the G20 summit at the beginning of April, shows that we're in a remarkable world. Who would have believed 10 or 20 years ago that people in the West would have been looking to China as providing the answer, the anchor of stability and the infusion of funds that are going to be necessary for a stable global economy?
Indeed, you'll be trying to get across to them in this framework document some of the responsibilities that they must share with the world.
I think that all powers in the modern world have responsibilities because that's the nature of interdependence. We depend on each other on terrorism or on climate change. We've got to work together.
Then a visit to Cedar Mount High School with the Manchester United manager, Sir Alex Ferguson. His team has links with UNICEF around the world, and the pupils at this multicultural school are encouraged to take part in visits and links to many countries, including China and Africa.
In the modern world, the links between
what happens abroad and what happens at home. If you think about terrorism or climate change or the economy, if the rest of the world catches an economic cold, we get it as well. And the speed with which those problems, economic or climate or go around the world, at a totally different rate.
As the late afternoon sun began to fade, the minister went on to visit some of the Jewish community in the city at the South Manchester Synagogue. And while there, he was conscious of an impending phone call from the new American Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. And at the Islamic Heritage Centre, a former Methodist college built in 1845, he had discussions with the Muslim community. The traumatic events in the Middle East cannot have been far from his mind.
Secretary of State, ladies and gentlemen,